What's going on, Falcon fan? This your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So, today we're going to talk about how the Falcons continue to struggle to just create a franchise where stability, where they have stability and they can have some continued success. There are franchises out there that you're not expected to win every year. That's not realistic in sports because so many factors factor in to win the championship. You got to have some luck. Um, you got to have everything go your way. No injuries. So many things happen when you win a championship, but for some reason, there are some teams that's just have built stability there. And they continue to be in the conversation to put themselves in opportunity to win championships. And the Atlanta Falcons just has not been able to do that on a consistent basis, and no stability here. And so, why they just can't get it right? That's just what I want to talk about today. Um, I had a long video yesterday talking about Atlanta Falcons, and you know, pretty much I just feel like we're done for this season. So today we're going to talk about, is the season already over? Right? Definitely going to talk about that. Um, and I definitely want to hear from you guys. Give me your opinions. What you think? Do you believe that the season already over? So early in this 25-26 season, right? Then what is the cause? Why can't Atlanta Falcons, um, create the stability? What's the cause of it? So many things that we can consider in this to the reason why the Atlanta Falcons probably can't get it right. And then how can they fix it? Right. That's where we're at as a fan base. So, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you're not dropping another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here I talk about. And please share my videos out the YouTube universe so more people can come here and talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, the first thing we're definitely going to hit up on is the question: is the season already over? Right. So honestly, mathematically, the season's nowhere near over. Right. The Atlanta Falcons only played 7 games, so technically they got 10 games left. So mathematically, it's not even close. No team right now, to be honest with you, it's mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. No team in the league right now. So the Atlanta Falcons is nowhere near um, out of this playoff race. So mathematically, no, they're not out of it. But when you look at um, my feelings on it and why I think they are, because of the reasons um, that we see what's happening. You go back to the Carolina loss, you go back to the 49ers loss, you go back to that Miami Dolphins loss, the losses that 3 losses on this season where even the first loss, right? And go back to the first loss. Um, the reason they lost is all the same, right? They're different. All 4 of those games are different, but the reason they lost is all the same, and most of it can contribute to the offense and the coaching from an offensive standpoint. And when you look at it, I don't think it can be fixed because I don't think they have the right coaching staff to fix it. And with that being said, I don't think they can turn it around because of that. So that's why I'm already out here saying that it's over. I mean, you just have to take it for what it's worth, right? You hear the head coach today in his press conference say if they can't get the running game going, they can't do nothing. And I would argue that any defensive coach, that's playing the Atlanta Falcons is going to try to stop your running game. That's like 101. That's what you do best. So they're going to try to stop it. And if you know that, you got to be able to still be able to process and do things else, do other things. right? It's not like you only got Bijan Robinson on your team, right? You have other players. I mean, they have invested a lot on this offensive side of the ball, from the offensive lineman to the skill players to the quarterback, right? They have so much investment on this offense, and you say we can't run the ball, we're pretty much dead in the water. So if that's the case, right, when you say that, and that's your only way of winning, being able to run the ball, and I say, well, they're gonna try to stop the run. That's what teams do. They try to take away what you do best. Like, you have to be able to make adjustments. You got to be able to move the ball when they take away your number one option. And for the head coach to come out and say that if they stop that, we're dead. We're dead in the water. Well, yes, if that's all you know how to do, and I just don't think the coaching staff is capable of fixing that. So the 49ers put the blueprint out there, right? The 49ers did. Not the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers was different. Even though they could not run the ball, but it was not as bad. Go back to that game. They was able to run the ball a little bit better in that game. The problem with that game was turnovers, and the game got out of hand, so they stopped running the ball. But the 49ers gave teams the blueprint how to beat them. And the Miami Dolphins just did the same thing. You take away Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, and the Atlanta Falcons, offense doesn't exist anymore. That's the problem, because the coaching staff don't know how to adjust to that. They got to be able to adjust to that. Right, that's your bread and butter. I get it, but if they take that away, now what? And at this point, the coaching staff don't know how to do that. So I don't see how they can fix it. Yes, they only played 7 games, but what you think the New England Patriots going to do? Team that's hot right now. They won 5 straight games. They're hot. So what you think their game plan is going to be, right? What you think the Indianapolis Colts game plan is going to be? It's going to be the same thing. What's going on, Thomas Storm? What's going on, John Moreno? You know, this is not how winning football. If they take away your number one option, you got to be able to adjust and counter to that. That's what make good coaches, right? If I tell you right now, if I was a defensive coordinator playing Atlanta Falcons, I want to stop Bijan Robinson. So every team is going to come in and try to stop your guy. You have to be a good enough coordinator and creative enough and savvy enough to still get your guy involved, but be able to adjust and counter to do other things as well to get them out of trying to stop your guy. So if they go 8-man front on you, I mean, if they're playing a lot of man-to-man, it's schemes out there that know how to diffuse that, right? Man-to-man beaters, right? So many other things you could do to get you have the skill players to do it, and they have not been able to do that. So, I said last night, it seems like they have a good game plan, and then if the game plan don't work, they don't have a plan B, don't have a plan C. It's just dead in the water. So the season's not over. They got 10 games left, but if everybody's going to come out and say they're going to take away your running game, and you coach just admitted, to the masses that if we can't get run the ball, we done. He admitted that, like, instead of saying we're gonna find a way to put points on the board, no matter what it takes. That's what good offensive coordinators do, right? You want to take away that? We're gonna scheme up something to get you out of that, right? To get you out of that, what you're trying to do to stop us, or we're gonna just do it better than you. Right now, they can't do it better than them, right? The offensive line is getting destroyed. Yesterday, they got destroyed in the San Francisco game, and so I just don't see how they could improve. They have 10 games now. I'm not going to come out here every week and hoping the Falcons lose. I hope they win. I hope they go freaking 10-0 the rest of the way, right? Prove me wrong, but at this point in time, I don't think they have the formula to get it done, right? They playing a really good New England team, and once you put enough film out there, right? If you look at the games, it's 24 games, 24 regular season games right now, right? 17 last year, 7 this year for Zach Robinson, 24 games. And they have never, ever been able to get this offense to live up to the potential with all the investments they have made on the offensive side of the ball, right? We talked about this. They got a number one left tackle, first round pick left tackle, a first round pick right guard, right? They got a second round pick left guard, right? See where I'm going with this, right? Second round pick left guard, right? Elijah Wilson, he was a decent pick, right? And Ron Nuzul is the only one that's undrafted, but he's been playing really well. You go to the skill position, you got a first round pick quarterback, first round pick receiver, first round pick tight end, first round pick running back. They got the players, right? They have invested well on the offensive side of the ball. So if you can't figure it out, it's on you. You it's not the talent. It's not the talent, right? And that's why for me, when I think about this question, is the season already over? I just don't see how they can fix it. And the willing his not willingly able to change anything. He's gonna go with the masses. I don't see it changing, right? I mean, they have came out so many times, and like the whole world sees this, right? Like, I came out and I questioned people, saying something about this pistol formation and all that, but he doesn't change it. It's the same thing. They know it feels like defenses know what play we're about to run now. That's really what it seems like. It seems exactly like defenses know what play we're about to run. And so it has got so vanilla, it has got so predictable to the fact that if somebody can tell me how it's going to change, if he comes out and do new stuff, that would be surprising, right? But people get headstrong and they get stuck in them ways, and they're like, we're going to make this thing work. And right now, it's not working, right? It's not working. Right? I really believe that it's not going to be where they have a Minnesota type game or a Commanders type game or a Buffalo type game, because teams have figured it out. Teams have figured them out, man. It's not where you be like, okay, we just had a bad. No, you didn't have a bad game. They know what you're doing. I mean, Miami was shooting the gaps on running plays before Bijan even get started, because they knew it was coming, right? Those motions, not even distracting. They don't even pay attention to motions no more, right? Because you're not complex enough, right? You're not making them, you know, look at misdirections and things like that. None of this is happening, right? And the passing game is non-existent. They don't think you can pass the ball because your head coach just said, if we can't run the ball, we can't do nothing. He said that. So I get it. It's a running team, but if they're gonna take away the run, that's not an excuse to just not win. It's not an excuse. You like, okay, you took away that you took away our strength. All right, we're gonna beat you without something that's not our strength. And that's what good coaches are supposed to do. And that's not what's happening. It's just not happening. So when we look at this question and it says, is the season already over? Mathematically, no, it's not over. They got 10 games left. But if you can pick a game on this schedule, on the remaining schedule, and we can go over the remaining schedule because I want to do that. You pick a game on this remaining schedule and tell me where you like, yeah, the Atlanta Falcons is going to win those games, right? So they got the Patriots, the Colts, the Panthers, the Saints, the Jets, the Seahawks, the Bucks, the Cardinals, the Rams, and then we got the Aints again, right? So somebody tell me when we just lost to a 1-16 and we lost to a struggling Panther team on the third week of the season, somebody tell me where the Falcons should be favored in any of those games. Just tell me when they should be favored. Okay, you say, well, the Aints are having a bad season. The Aints got one win on the season. The Miami Dolphins had one win on the season. The Miami Dolphins had one win on the season. So I don't want to hear somebody saying the Jets got one win on the season. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it, right? Because their excuse is they're NFL team just like everybody else. But when you're the get right team like the Atlanta Falcons are, that doesn't matter. That does not matter. So I personally don't see the Atlanta Falcons being able to get things done. Like you would assume that they could, once they get past the Colts, right? The Patriots and the Colts, the Atlanta Falcons should be able to somehow. And that's how many games that's left after the Colts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games left after the Colts, right? So just say, from my perspective, they lose the next 2 games, which I really think they will, right? I don't have no faith in them no more, so I think they're gonna lose those games. They'll put them at 3-6, right? They have 8 games left after that, right? They win the next 8, they'll put them at 11-6, right? So, but they probably won't beat the Seahawks. Seahawks look really good. That Thursday night football game against the Bucks, will they win that game? Don't know. And then Rams on Monday Night Football, right? So that's 3 games right there. So let's just say they win 5, and this is being generous, right? Because that means they'll beat the Panthers the second time. They'll sweep the Aints, right? They beat the Jets, and they beat the Cardinals. Just say if they do that, right? So that's 5 wins. So that'll put them at 8-9. What were their record last year? 8-9. There you have it. And that's if they win after they lose the next 2 games and they win 5 out of their last 8. That put them at 8-9. Same record they had last year. So they have to surprise me. They have to surprise me if they can win those other games I talked about. That's where I'm at with it. So, is the season over? No. 10 games left. But if somebody can find and give me a game, because nobody could have told me they was gonna lose to the 1-7, the 1-6 Miami Dolphins. Nobody could have told me that. Nobody, right? So you can't convince me that they're gonna beat the 1-7 Jets. They're gonna beat the 1-7 Aints. You can't convince me that's going to happen. They already lost to the Panthers, so you can't convince. They lost the Panthers 30-0, so you can't convince me they're going to beat the Panthers. That's what I'm talking about. That's where I'm at with it. So, and the reason why I'm saying that, because of the coaching staff. So, I'm not saying that they don't have the possibility of getting this thing done, but I don't think they can do it. So, let's go with some of these comments. Good evening, Connor. I'm going to say what I want to say. Thomas Stewart says, rise up. John says, I'm hoping the season is not over, but I kind of feel like you, but I hope my feeling is wrong. 100%. I'm not wishing. No, so let's go on the record. I'm not wishing the season is over. I just don't see it. I had to come to a realization, guys. Sometimes you have to do that with your team. Just be realistic with yourself. Like, yeah, I don't think they're gonna do it, and I don't think it's the players. I can honestly say that I don't think it's the players. I think it's the coaching staff. Rakundo, you're speaking the truth. Taking the run game away, we're done. That's what the head coach said. The head coach said if you take the running game away, we're done, right? And because the OC is not skilled enough to counter that, right? And just like I said, if you're any good defensive coordinator, your goal is to take away the Atlanta Falcon run game. That's your goal, man. And if that's the case, either we know you're going to try to take it away and we're going to run it anyway and get it done. He's not creative enough to get that done. And then he don't know how to go to his plan B and say, okay, we're going to pass the ball then and get you out of this 8-man front that you're doing to stop our run game. Does not know how to do that. So, yes. John says, also not blaming Kurt. The front line didn't block for him. It was a scheme. I'm not blaming Kurt either. It was the play calling. It was lost. They had no clue what to do when Miami get into that thing. They had no clue. That's what happened. So, okay, what coach would you like for the Falcons organization? I have no idea. It's a great question. I have no idea, man. I'm so tired of this crap. I don't know. You said Seahawks have Kubiak, and you're right. We will lose that game. There you go. Yes, I'm not arguing with you. I think we're gonna lose to the Seahawks at home again. We lost them last year. We lose them again. All right. So to just put a bow on this first question is the season already over? No, mathematically the season's not over. However, I don't think the Falcons is favored in many of these games coming up, based off the performance we have seen as of late. So, and records obviously doesn't mean anything to the Falcons because that's when they look their worst to teams that haven't won a lot, and none Falcons become the get right team. So there you have it. That's my questions. However, I do want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think the season is already over with 10 games left in this season where no team right now is really, really, truly automatically eliminated from the season? Right? So it's got a lot of football left. But the question is, do you believe that Atlanta Falcons can turn this thing around? My answer is not likely. All right, let's go to the next question. All right, so the next question is, what is the root cause of, and this goes back to my title of the show, which is to continue, struggle to create this stability. What is the root cause? All right, so Atlanta Falcons are going on 8 seasons right now where they have not won in the postseason. 8 seasons, right? You go back to the last time they was in the postseason, 2 times. 2016, of course, went to the Super Bowl. 2017 went back to the divisional round, and right there was a nucleus of just great veterans that they had on the team, and they would coach well on offense. Kyle Shanahan, of course, was a really good offensive play caller. Dan Quinn, we know his history. He's a great motivator, just like Raheem Morris. But in the end, what he was brought here for, his defense, never panned out for him. His 10-year here, Dan Quinn. So we're going to start there with that last, playoff run that we had, which was in 2017. So the issue is that the Atlanta Falcons waited too long to turn the page on that team. That team that the Atlanta Falcons had probably had ran its course after that 2017 season, right? They had an aging Matt Ryan, aging Julio Jones, and they kept, going back to those guys, the little core. If you can add guys like Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones to that mix as well, to try to run it back, of course, to that 2020 season. But after that divisional round playoffs in 2017, the Falcons just kept trying to what they call themselves retooling, and it fell from there, right? Then you bring in the new regime. New regime decided to go ahead and cut bait with that nucleus of that core players, right? But where they failed, and this is Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, they failed to secure probably the most important piece of your franchise, and that's a franchise quarterback, right? They had an Asian one in Matt Ryan, and Arthur Smith, he decided to go, the whole unorthodox way of building a team, right? And he decided that he didn't need a franchise quarterback. He was going to build a team with tight ends and running backs, receivers, no defensive players to say, and he was going to build it that way. And of course, bad quarterback play kind of ruined him. That's what it really boils down to, right? Then you bring in Raheem Morris. He comes in, and the first thing he's talk about is still quarterback, which is probably the smartest thing you're going to do. But you go to the Terry Fontenot, Marcus Smith era, instead of just going all in to rebuild, they even claimed it a retool for some reason. For some reason that I don't know why they felt like they had a team that could compete with the masses, which they did not, and we kind of found that out, right? So 3 seasons of 7-10, doomed Arthur Smith, because it was our team that was winning enough games to keep the Atlanta Falcons relevant, late in the season, but it was never a good enough team to do anything, right? And so instead of them just stripping it all down, and especially when you got rid of your core that had been here for years, right? That core with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones is the winningest core in Atlanta Falcon franchise history. That group right there, right? You go back to, Matt Ryan's first year, 2008, went to the playoffs. 2012 went to the NFC Championship game, right? A couple more times went to the playoffs. So that team was the most successful group of core players that the Falcons had in franchise history. That's just the truth, right? We had a successful team in 98, went to the Super Bowl, but just sustained success from a core players, Matt Ryan, is probably his tenure here is probably the most successful in Atlanta Falcons franchise history. A league that had been in since 1966. So that time frame probably has been the most successful. But they decided to wait too long, and then decided to retool after you get rid of Matt Ryan instead of just stripping it down and starting over. They would have did that, maybe the Atlanta Falcons would be in a better spot right now, right? But they bring in Raheem Morris. He think he has the pieces to compete, and he doesn't. He does not have the pieces, right? So he go get a quarterback, pays a veteran quarterback, $100 million. We know the story. Then we draft Michael Penix Jr., so on and so forth, right? Then he decides to hire 2 coordinators that has never called plays before. So he brought in Jimmy Lake. We know how that turned out. He has Zach Robinson, who is really barely had some glimpse of success, barely, right? And you would think it's going to get better, right? But it did not. So Raheem Morris decided to go ahead and put his career, his second opportunity, in these two coordinators. That's where he screwed up at. I said this yesterday. You guys know I'm right about it. He screwed up there. He decided to put his faith in these two coordinators, and here we are. Where after this season, the organization is probably is looking for a new regime. It's just the bottom line. Just the bottom line. So it is a question that's going on out there, right? So Arthur Blank bought this team in the early 2000s, probably the 2001 season when they got Mike Vick brought in, and is the issue, is it higher than the coaching staff, right? Is it the owner? Is it the Rich McKay effect, right? Because that's the question that we might need to start looking deeper into his organization, um, and figuring out why they can't get it right. Now it's a whole bunch of organizations in the National Football League that just has not been successful for years, right? You look at the New York Jets. Mark Sanchez was the last time they was in the playoffs, so it's been a long time, right? um look at the Cleveland Browns. They had a little success with Baker Mayfield, but it's been so many years where a lot of these organizations just stay where they're at and never been successful franchise. Go back and look for years. I mean, the Jets, Joe Namath is the last one. Um, so Cleveland Browns, Bernie Kosar, you got to go back all the way there when they had success. Of course, Jim Brown and all those guys back in the day. But um, Atlanta Falcons is starting to be one of those franchises that just can't seem to get right. Right? Old life can't get right. Right? That's where we're starting to turn to. So the question is it the owner? Is it those guys? Right? You look at a guy like Jerry Jones, who's had success early, right? When he first bought the team, had success really early. Um, but since then, he has not been able to um, replicate that, right? Because he wanted to be greedy, got rid of Jimmy Jones. We know the whole story, the Cowboy story. So, but a lot of people say the reason why the Cowboys is not as successful they be because Jerry Jones won't get out of the way. And I'm saying that today is Arthur Blank. Is he holding the team back because he won't get out of the way? Just a thought, right? Because this is how many coaches carousel that we can go around, right? So you got Mike Smith, you got Dan Quinn, you got Arthur Smith, you got Raheem Morris, right? Like, we can't keep a coach. So the stability that we're trying to generate, it's just not there. Just not there, right? So this is one of the reasons 2 years ago I wanted to bring in a Bill Belichick, right? And I understand he's old, and right now, based off what he's doing in New England, doing it in North Carolina, maybe like, well, maybe that's a good idea, right? But you have to bring in somebody that has been successful and that's going to turn the organization upside down, right? Look at the Indianapolis Colts, right? The Indianapolis Colts right now are 7-1. Their owner is on the sideline taking notes during games, holding guys accountable, right? You need to infuse some change in the organization, right? That's not what's happening, right? We just keep going back to the old, same old, and expecting different results, but you need to shake it up a little bit, right? You would think that Raheem Morris coming in his second time that he wouldn't take no junk, man. Like you come in and you hire these coaches, right? And honestly, the first sign, you should be like, okay, I got to cut bait because I'm about to not mess this up again. And he's doing it, man. He's definitely messing it up again. So when I look at the root cause, I just believe that they really don't have a solid direction of what they're trying to build. Right. And I don't know whose vision it is. Right. You want to think it's Terry Fontenot's vision, it's Raheem Morris's vision, or is it Rich McKay and Arthur Blank's vision? Whose vision is it to keep this organization in this status quo that it's in right now? Right. Right. I mean, you got to switch it up, man. It's like, at first when I seen the coach owner down taking notes, like I'm like, dang man, she ain't playing. She's not playing. But they're 7-1, so accountability is obviously there. The accountability, the Indianapolis coach, is there. She switched it up. Jim Irsay's out. She come down and she taking notes, man, during the game. You know what I'm saying? She holding those guys accountable. It's that's what you have to do in organization. Instead of coming out and listening to the coach say the same old spiel. This is why Dan Quinn got going, right? Right? Brotherhood and all that crap. Arthur Smith, same old, same old. P. Morris, same old, same old. Nobody wants to hear the same old. Because it don't work, man. You can't come out and say the same crap, right? You lose to the Carolina Panthers, you say that was an anomaly, right? And you say we just didn't play well that day. We got beat up front, and then you do it again. Well, hold somebody accountable, right? You should never happen. That should never happen again as a coach, because you have somebody be sitting down. That's how you hold people accountable, right? You keep the same players out there. You keep doing the same thing. They ain't gonna change. So it started at the top, though. At the top, Arthur Blank, Rich McKay. I don't know who's running the show, but it started at the top. You can't keep doing the same old thing. And this is where we're at. So the root cause of me is that it's the same old Falcons. The same old Falcons. That's why we can't get a winning organization, because for years, it's like the same playbook from somebody. Like we just keep getting the same old crap, right? Get those same old tired old sayings. Oh, we're gonna come out. I believe everybody in this locker room. We're gonna get it fixed. You said that week 3 after you lost to the Panthers, man. That was an anomaly. That's not who we really are. Well, you just lost to a team that's probably worse than that game. A team that was in complete turmoil, down in South Beach, and you come in here and you get those guys life. So obviously the guys was not ready to play. I don't know what they're teaching. They having do the week to get these guys confident that they was going to dominate this team, but those guys get paid just like you do, and it was a complete embarrassment. And something has to change. So the root cause is just the same old, and maybe instead of just starting with the coach, maybe you need to start up higher somewhere, and you get the change, right? Because accountability is not there. Accountability is not there. If you have your standard of how you say that you want your football team to play, they only get one, right? They don't get two, right? If that wasn't a standard when you got beat 30-0, you should never see that play on the field again. And if you do, somebody got to sit down. Something has to change, right? You use Ike Hilliard as a scapegoat after that game. And obviously, Ike Hilliard was not the issue, because the last 2 weeks, we see it again. So no accountability, none whatsoever, right? And you want the fan base to trust you and be behind you, and why? Right? Same old, man. Right? Just another record, right? You get the same old song, just another record, right? You got Dan Quinn. We got the Brotherhood. I believe in these guys. We're gonna turn around. Ooh, Arthur Smith. We're gonna turn around. We're gonna get it right. Raheem Morris, we're gonna turn around and get it right. Dude, you're not getting it right. Right? Act, you don't have to put up a front for us. If you piss, say you piss. Right? Like we want to know you hold somebody accountable for not putting what you claim you practice on the field. We don't see that, right? We want some accountability, right? I can promise you, obviously, looking at the coach, the owner down there taking notes, somebody being held accountable, right? That's not what we're seeing. So I'm just, I think the root cause of this organization is started at the top, right? Obviously, Arthur Blank, start with him. And Rich McKay does not really supposed to be involved anymore, but I wonder, is he still in Arthur Blank's ear, making these decisions and what should happen? I just make you wonder, but something's not working because we keep getting the same old playbook every year, same old crap, right? Talented team, you got the pieces, you have the pieces on this team to be successful, but for some reason it don't translate week in and week out. You see glimpses, right? And and a lot of people saying that Atlanta Falcon is the most enigma team in this league right now because it's worse than Jekyll and Hyde. It's like we don't know what we're going to get week to week from this team. That's where it really boils down to, right? Nobody picked the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Minnesota Vikings, Commanders, or the Bills, and they come out and they beat those teams decisively. Then people start to praise the Atlanta Falcons. They start getting more national attention and all this stuff, and then they lose to teams that nobody expected them to lose to. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And if you're not going to hold people accountable and they start at the top, you're never going to get any results. It's going to always stay where we're at in this cycle where now we're going into our 8th year and probably going to be out in the playoffs again. And this time I really feel like we're starting over again, starting the cycle all over again. So, Joe asked me who's going to be the next head coach. Man, I don't know. Because if you still got the same guys hiring the next head coach, you're probably going to get the same playbook and it's going to just repeat itself again. Right? Because nobody going to hold anybody accountable. And the Atlanta Falcons just will always be known as a mediocre franchise, right? Wasting talent of their players that they draft, right? I mean, think about some of the players that don't came through the Atlanta Falcons, potential Hall of Famers, and they have not winning is not good enough in their books, right? They're not known for being winning players, but you can see the talent, and every now and then they'll do something that's spectacular, right? I mean, we got a player that had a 300-yard game, right? I mean, we got so much talent, just spewing out. These guys want to have so much potential, but we can't deliver the goods, man. And then you got a fan base that wants to be that fan base. They starving for a winner. They starving for a consistent program in the city, right? And honestly, none of the sport teams in the city is consistent enough. None of them, right? The Braves, the Hawks, the Falcons, the Dream, none of them. None of the teams are consistent enough being a winning program. And you have good fan bases, for all those sports. They're there. Got diehard Falcon fans. I know a lot of them. I'm one of them. Diehard Falcon fans. And despite the lack of success that this team has had in his existence, we still here, man. But we get the same old playbook over and over again. And obviously it must start at the top. So the root cause is something have to change. Somebody had to be held accountable. Like, look, man, this is what you promised me. This is what you say you're gonna deliver. If it doesn't happen, you gotta go, right? Don't give time, right? Because accountability is what we need, and that's not what we're getting. So Ricardo, since we lost the Super Bowl, it seems like we have been cursed the Falcons team. Can they get some of the preacher locker room, bless the Falcon organization so we can start winning? I don't know, man. I have no idea what's going on. T. Terry says they're already planning on a new coach. Next 5 season candidates already. Yep. Already, man. Already. T. Terry, whom are your candidates? T. Terry says John Gruden, the USC coach, Washington Commanders OC. So you saying Steve Sarkisian, Cliff Queensberry from Commanders. I forget who the USC. Oh yeah, I can't think his name. Now, out of all those coaches, honestly, John Gruden probably would be a good candidate because he knows football. Of course, we know his situation he had with the Raiders. I don't know how that is. How that would factor into bringing him to the Atlanta Falcons, be the head coach. With him suing the NFL and things like that. So we'll definitely have to look into John Gruden's situation, right? I don't think he was banned from the NFL, anything like that. So that's a good point about John Gruden. But we'll just have to see. Right? Right now, I can't think of a candidate because I'm be honest with you, I'm to the point when we talking about coaching candidates. I just want a coach to come in and build the program, build the organization. Right? You can start over. You can start from the bottom, but just build it so you have sustainability throughout the years. Right? That's what you want. You don't care about struggling early because you can see the potential, right? That's what you want to see. But when you come out and say you win now, like that's where Arthur Smith and Raheem Morris are screwing up, right? They come in, brand new coaching organizations, Arthur Smith come out and say it's not a rebuild, it's a retool, right? Dude, it's a rebuild. Call it what it is, right? You have to get a quarterback first. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got to get a quarterback. Most franchises that suck right now because they don't have a franchise quarterback, and that's the number one thing in this league that you got to have. You got to have your quarterback, right? So you start there. So with the Atlanta Falcons, that's why this season for me, I didn't care about the playoffs. I didn't care about none of that stuff. I wanted them to get the playoffs, but I wanted the true know if Michael Penix is the franchise quarterback for the future. That's what they got to find out. That should be their number one goal. Is he the guy, right? Now, you build around that guy. You got to do it the right way. They got the core. I talked about this yesterday. They got a good young core nucleus of players that they can build this team right with, right? But you gotta put the right pieces, the right coaches around these guys to have development, right? You got an offensive coordinator that he's stunned the growth of your young quarterback. You gotta hold people accountable, man. This offense is supposed to be putting up 24 to 27 points a game. That's not happening. So you need to find out why. And if he can't get it done, find somebody who can, because you got the talent to do it, right? But you just keep making excuses, holding them accountable. Bijan Robinson had nine touches yesterday. Like, it's no excuse for that. None whatsoever. You got to hold somebody accountable, man. And we heard that what Raheem Morris said today. You could have just went back to week 3 and listen to the Listen to the press conference. It was the same crap. The same crap, man. No accountability. None whatsoever. So I just want a coach that's gonna be successful and come in and deliver the goods. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. If they can do that, then we could be happy about it. All right, last topic, guys. Last topic is how can they fix this, or how can this organization be fixed? They gotta find the ace in the hole. They gotta find a Mike Tomlin. That's what needs to happen. They need to find their Mike Tomlin. They can find their Mike Tomlin, right? They find their Andy Reid, right? They find their Sean Payton, they find their Sean McVay, right? They find their Dan Campbell. You got to find that guy that's come in and root himself in the organization, and he know how to get this program running. I mean, you look at a guy like Mike Tomlin. Yes, they ain't won a lot. Let's be honest with you. They ain't won since 2010, right? 15 years. But guess what? They in a tournament every year. It's never had a losing season. You can respect that because that means every year he gets his team ready to play and compete for the Super Bowl. Yes, they're not over the top. They do not, like I said, you're not going to win every year. But how they fix it, you got to find your guy. You got to find your guy. And you would think Raheem Morris would have learned from this, right? He had his opportunity one time, and what does he do? He come in and he hook up his buddies, and he screwed himself. He screwed himself. He screwed himself. That's what happens, man. That's what happens. So the start is you find your guy, and then you get your quarterback, right? If Michael Penix the guy, you already got your quarterback. You just got to find your guy, right? That's how you do it. And then you build around that. You have a strategic plan about how you're going to build it. We got our quarterback. We're going to build the trenches, right? This is football 101. You build the trenches, right? You build your team through the draft. The last two drafts been really, really good for Terry Fontenot, right? They really have, but I don't even know if he's going to last after this year. So you build that, but you build off the pieces you got, right? And then you start to hold people accountable. That's how you fix this thing. How you fix this thing. They gotta find their guy, whoever that guy is. T. Terry says, the guy from USC, he's a quarterback whisperer. I guarantee you. Yeah, you're probably right because he don't have two Heisman Trophy winners, right? So maybe he is the guy. Maybe he is. Maybe he is the guy. I'm not 100% sure, right? But maybe you can get him in and he can run offenses, but he has to put the right staff around him to be successful, right? Because he can run the offense, but we have to have, that complementary football piece. So you have to build that kind of success, right? But you have to find your guy. I don't know who that guy is because at this point, we don't want to keep running the same playbook. That's what we're having. That's where we're at. So the way I think they can fix it, they got to find their guy. Once they find a guy, get your quarterback. If they think Michael Penix the quarterback, good, right? You got that already intact. So you got your coach, you got your quarterback, and then you build your team around those two guys. And then you create that stability, that sustain. And every year you come in and you look like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. You look like Sean Payton and Drew Brees. You look like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. You look like Peyton Manning, whoever he had as coach, because he had a lot of coaches and he was always good. But You get what I mean. Tony Dungy, right? He had Tony Dungy that came in. Say Tony Dungy. We can say Tony Dungy. You could say um, Kubiak, right? We had to Kubiak because that was his last coaching in Denver. So you can say that. You can say that, but you got Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger. You see what I'm saying, guys? You got the quarterback and the coach who's there together, and they run through together. They making things happen. They making things happen, right? That's what you want. That's what you need. And if they do that, us as a fan base can be happy about it. Right now, just the same old playbook, the same old. We're gonna fix it. I believe in this team. Yeah, you said that week 3. Then they come out and lay 2 stinkers back to back. Right? They lose this weekend. What's the conversation going to be? What's the conversation going to be? You can't tell me when you got 4 top 10 picks on offense and you can't score over 10 points a game. It's embarrassing. Just embarrassing, man. And nobody get held accountable for it. And just keep repeating the cycle over and over again, week in and week out. And they want us to believe that they're going to do something good. Same old playbook, man. And we're right back here talking about what the Atlanta Falcons need to do. And I'm going to shout out to all my fellow, content creators out here that cover the Falcons year in and year out. Some been doing it way longer than me out here talking about this mess. Now, I've been a fan forever, but I just started talking about the Falcons probably 5 years ago on this channel. So, but I can't imagine doing this crap for like 12, 13 years, and every year is the same old. You come on here and you say what you think the Falcons are going to be this year, and then right around this time they start to let you down. So last year the Atlanta Falcons was 6-3, right? I think this year they're going to be 3-6 after 9 games. After 9 games, it was 6-3. This year, after 9 games, I think they're going to be 3-6. It's just the way I feel about it. And then we'll see. We go from there. Now we were 6-3 after 9 games. Then we decided to lose 6 of our last 8 games. Right? We can be 3-6 after these next 2 games, and then let's see how many games we win after our next 8 games. Let's just see. Right? And that'll go back to the first question, which is the season over already? But man, it's depressing, right? Because we getting the same old playbook from the head coach telling you that these guys gonna be all right, but you're not changing anything, right? So what's the confidence that it's going to be better than it was the last week? Because you're not changing anything. And if guys didn't perform like they supposed to perform, how you holding those guys accountable so they won't happen again? And if you're not, why would we expect something different? That's just the way it is, right? You can see the guys want to perform. They want to be better. The coaches got to put those guys in in positions to succeed. T. Terry said, I forgot the Falcons got the Rams to play. Yep, they got them on Monday Night Football. But so, T. Terry, you didn't hear me. What I said was the Atlanta Falcons got 10 games left, right? They're going to lose the next 2 to the Patriots and the Colts. They might beat the Panthers and the Aints, right? They might beat the Jets. I think they're going to lose to the Seahawks. They might beat the Bucks. They might beat the Bucks. They might beat the Cardinals. I think they're going to lose to the Rams, and then they might sweep the Aints. So that's where I'm saying it. So if you look at that, I think out those so they're going to lose the next 2 games. to the Patriots and the Colts. We got that right. So they're gonna be 3-6. They got 8 games left after that. I got them winning 5 right to 8, which make them 8-9, just like they were last year. 8-9. Atlanta Falcons is an 8-9 team under Raheem Morris and his coaching staff. That's who they are, and more than likely, that's probably who they're going to be this year. Or they may be even worse. Or they could go back to a Arthur Smith edition and go 7-10. We just have to see. But it's a possibility they can do that. There you have it, guys. So, guys, let me know what you think about the topics I talked about today. First thing is the season over, right? 10 games left. What are your opinion on that? I say yes. I think it's over. I don't think they win enough games. I think they end up 8-9 at the end of the year, right? That's just my opinion. But definitely want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you think they can turn this thing around? What is the root cause? And I think it started at the top. Nobody holds nobody accountable until they just fire everybody and start over again. Nobody holds nobody accountable, man. That's where it is. The root cause is at the top. And then how can they fix it? They got to find their guy. They got to get their quarterback. And then they go from there. Find their head coach. Make sure that the quarterback is not already on the roster. And Michael Penix, get your quarterback. And then go from there. Then you can create that stability and that consistency that we want to see. That sustainment that we want to see for years to come. That's what I think the Atlanta Falcons can do. But definitely, guys, I want to hear from you guys. Give me your opinion on the season so far. What do you think they could do to change this thing around? If you think they can change around this season, let me hear you tell me that, and how you think they can change it around. Or who's the next coach for this team? What direction you think the franchise going in moving forward? And there you have it. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.